ki jai. Prem Jo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitinanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govindam ki jai. Matharanam ki jai. Vrindavanam ki jai. Maipurdam ki jai. Nittam ki jai. Jagannath Puridam ki jai. Ayodhidam ki jai. ISKCON Ljubljana ki jai. Gangavai ki jai. Gangavai ki jai. Srimati Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Shri Gauri Nitai ki jai. Gaur Brahmananda Hari Bol. Slava Prani Bhakti. Slava Prani Bhakti. Slava Prani Bhakti. Slava Shri Guru Shri Guru. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Krivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Krivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tirha Vanachari. Yamuna Tirha Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Lacy Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol Slava Zavrani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Ishi Gaurangi. Om Magana Tvinandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapara Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchina Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishubhanu Sudhadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Turvyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patiranam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Narada Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 7. Tvam paryat tanarka eva trilokim anantas charo vayur evatma shakshi parabare brahmani dharamato vratai Snatasya me nunam alam vichakshva Tvam tanarka ivalokim trilokim anantascharo vayor ivatma shakshi Paravare brahmani dharmato vratai Snatasya me nunam alam vitakshva Varitam narka iva trilokim Anantascharo vayar evatma shakshi Paravare brahmani dharmato vratai Snatasya me nunam alam vichakshva Imanitam vaka dilokim Anantascharo vayor evatma shakshi Paravare brahmani dharmato vratai Ladies, Pariyantam narka iva trilokim Anantascharo vayor evatma shakshi Paravare brahmani dharmato vratai Tasya me nunam alam vichakshva Tvam, your goodness, Paryatan, traveling, Araka, the sun, Eva, like, Trilokim, the three worlds, Antakshara, can penetrate into everyone's heart. Vayu Eva, as good as the all-pervading air. Atma, self-realized. Sakshi, witness. Paravare, in the matter of cause and effect. Brahmani, in the absolute. Dharmata, under disciplinary regulations. Vratai, in a vow. Snatasya, having been absorbed in. Me, my. Nunam, deficiency. Alam, clearly. Vichakshva, search out. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds. And like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive Supersoul. Please therefore find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows. Purport. Transcendental realization, pious activities, worshiping the deities, charity, mercifulness, nonviolence, and studying the scriptures under strict disciplinary regulations are always helpful. Text 8. Sri Narada said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless." Please repeat. Sri Narada said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy, which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord, is considered worthless." Purport. The eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul, personality of Godhead, is constitutionally one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them, and this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Such a scholar as Vyasadeva has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy. But none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendental subject of the Absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. The personality of Godhead is the last word in transcendental realization. The Absolute realized as impersonal Brahman or localized Supersoul, Paramatma, is less productive of transcendental bliss than the Supreme Personal realization of his glories. The compiler of the Vedanta Darshana is Vyasadeva himself, yet he is troubled, although he is the author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam by the same author. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskyatyade Satarane. Here it mentions that the purpose of self-realization is to obtain transcendental bliss. That there's only three needs for everyone. Knowledge, how to be eternally happy. If we have that knowledge, those three things, we don't need anything else. And if we don't have those three things of knowledge, how to become eternally happy, then whatever we have is a waste, useless, ultimately, for the actual welfare of the soul. Therefore, the Vedic literature aims at helping us become eternally happy. That's why that's knowledge is meant to teach one how to become eternally happy. And anything that doesn't teach us how to become eternally happy or is on the path towards eternal happiness is considered shravam evahi kevalam, a waste of time. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva, even after compiling the Vedanta Sutra and the Mahabharata and other literatures, he was still dissatisfied because he didn't know he didn't obtain eternal bliss. That even realization of the self as eternal will not satisfy one, and what to speak of simply things in relationship to the body and the mind, which may lessen the misery of the soul, but will not take the misery away from it. Even Brahma, Krishna says, Abrahma bhuvana loka avartanojana mamupeti tu konteya punar janma navidite. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, they're all places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. Mamupetya punarjanma dukhaliyam ashasvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gataha. Mam upetya punarjanma. That one who has obtained me never takes birth again. Mam upetya punarjanma dukhaliyam ashasvatam. Dukhalya means misery, and ashasvatam means it's temporary. He doesn't come back to this temporary material world, which is full of misery. Mamupeti punarjanma dukhaliyam ashasvatam napnuvanti mahatma. Such a great soul, samsiddhim paramam gataha. He attains the highest goal. To develop faith, first of all, that there exists such a realm of existence where we can be eternally happy. Of course, when we talk about eternal happiness, unless we taste it, that it's just another word in our vocabulary. But at least we can understand that if I realized I was eternal, practically all the miseries of my material existence would disappear. Now we're very concerned with our material bodies, especially the fact that we're going to have to die sooner than later. And therefore, we're always full of apprehension. What's going to happen to me at the time of death? Where am I going? How am I going to feel? Etc., etc. But if we become apart from the body, we become aware of our spiritual existence, then there's nothing more to worry about. Then one can concentrate completely on simply pure devotional service without any material anxieties or misgivings. Therefore, it's not that we reject the Vedanta Sutra or the other literatures written by Vyasadeva, but we understand that they're incomplete without a book like the Srimad Bhagavatam, which tells us the history of great devotees and how they worship Krishna. Now, generally speaking, everyone is a worshiper. Just like in America, they have these elections going on, and these very, very insignificant people are worshiping them as their savior, which is compared to a dog swimming, trying to cross the ocean, and someone grabbing hold of the tail of the dog, hoping to cross the ocean with the dog. The dog is not going to go far, and the person who has the tail of the dog is not going to go very far either. Similarly, everyone is glorifying someone. Everyone has some hero in any kind of significant or insignificant activity. But ultimately, only by becoming Krishna conscious can we actually transcend material miseries and obtain real happiness. But that we have to experience by, first of all, hearing. The quality of the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly different from the quality of the hearing of mundane topics. Mundane topics are considered to be punak punas charvata charvananam, chewing the chewed. Why are people anxious? Who's going to get elected? Because everyone who's running for office is promising, I will give you food, I will give you shelter, I'll give you a nice family, I'll give you defense, I will provide everything for you, no extra cost. All you do is have to cast your vote for me, and your whole problems will be solved. So people have been doing that for a long time, casting votes, and none of their problems have been solved. But due to the illusory energy, they believe that maybe this time it's going to be different. But it's punak punas charvata charvananam. It's simply chewing the chewed. The same thing over and over again. If anything, after chewing the chewed for some time, there's no more sugar. You're just working your jaws, hoping that somehow or another I'm going to squeeze the last bit of sugar out of something that has no sugar left. The difference between glorifying Krishna and glorifying an ordinary person is that in our theory of understanding Krishna, we heard that Krishna is the source of everything, including he's the source of all pleasure. And that when he experiences pleasure, everyone else experiences pleasure also. That Krishna emanates pleasure and bliss and affection and love. Just like in the material world, people take pleasure in their different types of association. When they're at a football game, then they take pleasure in the enthusiasm of everyone else. Similarly, people who get upset, if they're in a room with people who are disturbed, they also get disturbed. So if you're in a room with a person who has unlimited pleasure and bliss and love, then you also experience the same thing, much more easily, because it's much more intense than any ordinary personality. And also, because Krishna is absolute, then there's no difference between glorifying him and actually experiencing him. If one's senses are uncovered, if one's consciousness is clear, then simply by glorifying Krishna, one will actually directly experience Krishna. Even the gopis, when they were dancing with Krishna in the rasa dance, they were glorifying Krishna. And the more they glorified Krishna, the more they realized his qualities. Of course, their glorification of Krishna had the quality of pure love. Srimati Radharani is the topmost devotee because she has the most appreciation of Krishna. In order to have the most appreciation of Krishna, she must feel herself insignificant. As soon as we feel ourselves to be significant, then our appreciation of everyone else goes down quite a bit. If we think we're important, if we think that we're special, if we think that we're qualified, then our appreciation of others will go down proportionally to our pride. And what do we have to be proud of in this material world except to some material relative position that we're in? But that will all be taken away. From one life to the next, we lose everything, except for the karma that we bring into the next lifetime. But we start all over from the beginning again. So the only thing we have to be proud of is our false ego. But our false ego is nothing to be proud of. Anything more than being put into a prison cell. Maybe it's a class C prison cell, maybe it's a class B prison cell, or maybe a class A prison cell. But after all, it's a prison cell. And in the prison cell, one is restricted in every way. The diet may not be adequate. The heat may not be adequate. The good association may not be there. In so many ways, one is restricted. So being in the material world, in spite of the fact we may be proud of our relative material position, after all, one cannot be considered strong, unless he's considered in relationship to someone else who's weaker. One cannot be intelligent unless one is considered in relation to someone else who's less intelligent. So therefore, our so-called pride is just based upon relatively being better than someone else. But after all, no one's strength or knowledge or wealth or renunciation or fame or beauty in this material world gives one eternal bliss. Therefore, in itself, whatever material position we have is inconsequential to the goal of life. On the other hand, we find that Hanuman, he was a Varna, kind of half monkey, half human being, and yet because of his service attitude and love for Lord Ramachandra, he was always in transcendental happiness. Similarly, there are other living entities, such as Gajendra, who is in a very miserable condition, but because he surrendered to Krishna, he got complete happiness. Jatayu was a vulture or some kind of bird, and yet, even he was defeated by Ravana, still he got the highest benediction coming from Lord Ramachandra. Therefore, our material relative position is inconsequential if we don't consider it as that important, other than to utilize in Krishna's service, loving Krishna's service. And for that, we have to learn how to hear with attention and appreciation. We can't appreciate anything we don't pay attention to, because we don't experience it. You can't experience something if you don't pay attention to it. The most beautiful lady may walk through the room, but if you don't pay any attention to her, you won't you won't have any appreciation. There may be the most beautiful painting, but if you don't have your glasses on and you can't focus on it, you won't be able to appreciate it. So unless we learn, first of all, how to focus our attention on Krishna, how to dedicate our activities in the service of Krishna, then whenever we hear the name of Krishna, we don't focus in on it, because our minds are too disturbed by distractions coming from our mundane experiences. Therefore, although the name of Krishna, his forms, his quality, and his activities may be full of transcendental bliss, but unless we can concentrate our minds, then we won't be able to experience it to the fullest possible extent that can give us the happiness that we're searching for. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us some direction, some inspiration to dedicate our activities to Krishna, so that our minds, we can concentrate on him and we can actually experience the real happiness coming from hearing about him, and what to speak of serving him and chanting about him and remembering him. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? I can hear the clock, so I know everyone's thinking very carefully. Okay. Grantaraj, Hwala, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
lágrimas, a gente